All right, so it looks like we're tackling another DIY dilemma today. A paint stain on your beautiful wood floors. Oof, I've been there. And I know that feeling of panic. Don't worry, though. We've got you covered. We've got this expert guide from Flooring 365 all about how to remove paint from wood floors. We're ready to break it all down.
You know, it's interesting. What I found interesting was that this guide emphasizes how every type of wood floor needs a different approach, whether it's engineered wood, oak, solid wood, or even that intricate parquet.
Right, like it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Yeah.
So before we even grab a scraper or cleaning solution, what's the first step our listener needs to take?
The very first thing is to play detective. You got to figure out what kind of paint you're dealing with. Is it water-based, oil-based? That'll determine your best method of removal. And while you're at it, take a close look at your flooring, too. Different woods have different strengths and weaknesses. That's going to influence your strategy.
Okay, so let's say our listeners identified the paint type. They know their wood type. What's next?
Always start with the gentlest approach. If the paint's still wet, you might be able to just blot it away with a damp cloth. You might get lucky. But if it's dried, don't worry. You can try gently lifting it with a plastic scraper or even an old credit card.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that trick before. Now I'm curious about solvents. The guide mentions using them, but are there any risks? Especially for more delicate wood types, like engineered wood.
Yeah, that's a great question. Solvents can be incredibly effective, but you're right. They can be risky if you're not careful. Engineered wood is particularly susceptible to damage from moisture. It has that thinner top layer of real wood.
Dude, it's like using a solvent on engineered wood is a bit like walking a tightrope. You got to be super careful. What specific solvents does the guide recommend?
Well, for water-based paint, rubbing alcohol is usually safe and effective. And for oil-based paint, white vinegar can work wonders. It's a natural solution and gentler on most wood floors. But even with these milder solvents, the key is to use them sparingly, especially on engineered wood.
That's a good point. I'm starting to understand why this guide puts so much emphasis on knowing your wood type. Okay, so we need to talk about sanding, but is it really the nuclear option, like some people call it?
Sanding should definitely be a last resort. It's effective, but it's the most abrasive method. It could potentially thin out the wood surface, especially with engineered or parquet flooring. It's like using a chainsaw to trim a bonsai tree. You risk doing more harm than good.
Yikes. That's a pretty vivid image. So sanding is reserved for when all else fails.
Exactly. And even when sanding is necessary, you need a delicate touch. The guide recommends using fine grit sandpaper and sanding lightly in the direction of the wood grain to minimize damage.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you're trying to smooth out a rough edge, not reshape the entire piece of wood.
Precisely. And don't forget, after sanding, you'll need to refinish that area. You got to restore the wood's protective layer and its natural shine.
So, we've covered the initial assessment, gentle removal techniques, cautious use of solvents, and the last resort of sanding. It sounds like there's a lot to think about before jumping into action. Where do we go from here?
Well, now that we've explored the main ways to deal with the paint itself, let's shift our focus to what comes after you get rid of the paint. This is where cleaning and prevention come in.
Okay, so say we've successfully removed the paint. How do we clean up the area? What's the best way to make sure the floors are looking their best?
After you remove the paint, you really want to clean the area with a wood-specific cleaner. This will help remove any solvent residue, and it'll prep the surface for any touch-ups or refinishing.
Gotcha. And what about preventing these paint mishaps in the future? Any tips on that?
It may seem obvious, but covering your floors with drop cloths or plastic sheeting before painting is essential. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. We're back and ready to really dig into those nuances of paint removal from different wood types. You know what I'm realizing? Each type of wood is like, it has its own personality and needs special care. Like dealing with a house full of quirky roommates.
That's a great way to put it. And you're absolutely right. Understanding the unique characteristics of each wood type. That's essential for choosing the right approach.
So let's break it down. Let's start with engineered wood. We touched on its sensitivity earlier, but I want to know, what can actually go wrong if we're not careful?
Well, engineered wood is a popular choice. It's more affordable and versatile than solid wood. But like we said before, it has that thinner top layer of real wood, which makes it more vulnerable to moisture damage. So if you use too much water or harsh chemicals, it can cause the wood to warp or swell, or even delaminate, which means the layers start separating.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a nightmare. So gentle techniques and a sparing use of solvents are key for engineered wood. Got it. Now, what about oak flooring? It seems like it has a tougher reputation.
Oak is known for its durability. It can handle a bit more wear and tear. But don't let that fool you. It's not invincible. While it's less prone to moisture damage than engineered wood, using abrasive tools or harsh scrubbing, that can still scratch the surface and dull its beautiful finish.
So even with a sturdy oak floor, a delicate touch is still important. Okay, so what about solid wood flooring? Is this where we can finally unleash our inner sanding warrior?
Well, solid wood does offer more flexibility for repairs because of its thicker surface. Light sanding can be an option in certain situations, but it's still crucial to approach it with caution. Using the wrong grit sandpaper or sanding too aggressively can create uneven surfaces, and you could even damage the wood grain.
Yeah, it seems like. Sanding, even on solid wood, is a bit like performing surgery.
Exactly.
It requires precision and the right tools. All right, now let's talk about the most delicate member of the wood floor family, parquet.
Parquet flooring. With its intricate pattern and delicate craftsmanship, it's like a work of art. It needs special attention. Aggressive cleaning or sanding. That can easily damage the delicate mosaic and ruin its unique aesthetic appeal.
So what's the best way to handle paint stains on parquet? It seems like even using a plastic scraper could potentially catch on the edges and loosen the pieces.
You're right to be concerned about that. For parquet, precision and a gentle touch are paramount. Instead of a scraper, consider using a cotton swab dipped in a solvent like rubbing alcohol to carefully lift the paint from those crevices.
Oh, that makes sense. It's almost like you're restoring a delicate antique rather than cleaning a floor. So we've covered a lot. Different wood types, their vulnerabilities. What does all this mean for our listener, the listener who's staring down that dreaded paint stain?
It means they're armed with the knowledge to approach the situation with confidence. They know how to assess the type of paint, identify their wood type, and choose the appropriate removal method, from gentle blotting to careful solvent use. And as a last resort, sanding with the utmost care.
They've gone from feeling overwhelmed to feeling empowered. And they've learned that preventing these mishaps in the first place, well, that's the easiest solution. But accidents happen. What if our listener has tried all the recommended techniques, and that paint stain is still clinging on for dear life?
In that case, it might be time to call in the professionals. Remember Flooring 365, the source of all this valuable information. Well, they also offer expert advice and services to help you tackle even the most stubborn flooring challenges.
It's like having a flooring superhero on speed dial. So to summarize, we've explored the importance of identifying the type of paint and wood, understanding the specific vulnerabilities of different wood types, and choosing the right removal method. We've also emphasized the power of prevention and the option of calling in the experts when DIY methods reach their limit. What's the one key takeaway you want our listener to remember from all this?
I want them to remember that knowledge is power when it comes to caring for their wood floors. By understanding the nuances of different wood types and the potential risks involved, they can make informed decisions and avoid costly mistakes. And remember, even if things don't go perfectly the first time, there are always solutions.
I love that. It's all about empowering ourselves with the right information and approaching these situations with a sense of calm and confidence. Now, I know you have some fascinating insights on cleaning and maintaining wood floors after a paint removal adventure.
Absolutely. While successfully removing the paint is a victory in itself, the journey doesn't end there. The next step is to restore your floor's natural beauty and protect it for years to come.
So let's dive into the world of wood floor aftercare. What are some essential tips our listeners should keep in mind?
After you've removed the paint and cleaned the area with a wood-specific cleaner, it's crucial to assess the floor's condition. You might notice that the area where the paint was is a little dull or rough compared to the surrounding floor.
That makes sense. Even with the most careful removal techniques, there might be some minor imperfections left behind.
Exactly. And that's where refinishing comes in. Depending on the severity of the situation, you might need to lightly sand the area and apply a new coat of finish to restore the wood's protective layer and its natural shine.
So it's kind of like giving your floor a mini makeover after its paint ordeal?
Precisely. Now, when it comes to refinishing, the type of finish you choose is just as important as the application technique.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are the different types of wood floor finishes, and how do we know which one's right for our situation?
There are three main types of wood floor finishes: surface finishes, penetrating finishes, and oil finishes. Surface finishes, like polyurethane, they sit on top of the wood, creating a durable and moisture-resistant layer. They're popular for high-traffic areas and offer excellent protection against scratches and spills.
So they're like the heavy-duty protectors of the wood floor world. What about penetrating finishes?
Penetrating finishes, well, as the name suggests, they seep into the wood pores, hardening and strengthening the wood fibers from within. They offer a more natural look and feel compared to surface finishes, but they require more frequent maintenance.
So they're more like the gentle guardians, enhancing the wood's natural beauty. And what about oil finishes? They sound intriguing.
Oil finishes are known for their rich, warm tones and their ability to enhance the wood's natural grain patterns. They penetrate the wood, providing moisture resistance and a soft, natural sheen. However, they do require regular re-oiling to maintain their beauty and protection.
Wow, it's amazing how much thought and consideration goes into choosing the right finish for your wood floors. It's like selecting the perfect outfit for a special occasion.
I love that analogy. And just like choosing the right outfit, selecting the right finish depends on your personal preferences, lifestyle, and the specific needs of your wood floor.
So our listener has successfully removed the paint, cleaned the area, assessed the floor's condition, and maybe even applied a new coat of finish. What's next in our wood floor aftercare journey?
Now it's all about maintaining that beautiful, refreshed look. And that starts with establishing a regular cleaning routine that's tailored to your wood floor type and the finish you've chosen.
Okay, so let's talk cleaning. What are some general tips for keeping wood floors clean and sparkling?
First and foremost, regular sweeping or vacuuming is crucial. You want to remove dust, dirt, and debris. That stuff can scratch the surface. Use a soft bristled broom or a vacuum cleaner with a brush attachment specifically designed for hardwood floors.
It's like giving your floors a gentle daily massage. Now, what about mopping? Is that safe for all types of wood floors?
Mopping is generally safe for sealed wood floors, but it's essential to use a damp mop, not a soaking wet one. Excess water can seep into the seams and cause the wood to warp or swell.
That makes sense. It's like the Goldilocks principle of wood floor cleaning. Not too wet, not too dry, but just right.
Exactly. And when choosing a cleaning solution, opt for a pH-neutral cleaner specifically designed for wood floors. Avoid using harsh chemicals, abrasive cleaners, or furniture polish. Those can damage the finish and dull the shine.
Got it. So gentle cleaning products and a delicate touch are key. Any other tips for prolonging the life of our beautiful wood floors?
Absolutely. One often overlooked aspect of wood floor care is protecting them from direct sunlight. Prolonged exposure to UV rays can cause the wood to fade and discolor over time. Consider using curtains, blinds, or rugs to shield your floors from the harsh sun, especially during peak hours.
That's a great point. I've definitely noticed how sunlight can fade furniture and fabric, so it makes sense that it would affect wood floors as well.
Right. And speaking of protection, consider using felt pads under furniture legs to prevent scratches and dents.
Those little felt pads are like tiny superheroes silently guarding our floors from furniture attacks.
I like it. And finally, remember that wood floors, just like any other part of your home, they benefit from regular maintenance. Inspect your floors periodically for any signs of wear and tear, like scratches, dents, or loose boards. Address these issues promptly to prevent further damage and ensure the longevity of your floors.
So our deep dive into paint removal has evolved into a comprehensive guide to wood floor care and maintenance. It's incredible how much we've learned about these seemingly simple surfaces.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Wood floors are not just a functional element of our homes. They also hold a certain beauty and character that deserves to be cherished and preserved.
Absolutely. They add warmth, elegance, and a touch of history to our living spaces.
You're right.
And now, thanks to all the insights we've gained, we can approach caring for them with a newfound appreciation and confidence.
Well said. And remember, whether you're tackling a paint stain or simply maintaining your floor's natural beauty, the key is to approach it with knowledge, care, and a touch of that DIY spirit.
And with that inspiring message, we'll wrap up part 2 of our deep dive. But don't go anywhere, because in part 3, we'll explore the emotional side of dealing with DIY mishaps and how to stay calm amidst the chaos.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive. You know we've covered a lot, from the super specific paint removal techniques to the different personalities of those wood types and the art of refinishing. But I think it's time we address the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the paint splat on the floor.
I like that. We've talked about all the technical stuff, but what about the emotional roller coaster, the feelings that come with dealing with these DIY dilemmas?
Exactly. It's one thing to read about removing paint from wood floors, but it's another thing entirely to experience it firsthand, especially when you're staring at a fresh paint stain on your beautiful floors.
Oh yeah, imagine this. You're in the middle of a project, maybe feeling pretty good about your DIY skills, and bam, a rogue paint drip lands right on your pristine wood floor. Your heart sinks, your palms sweat. Maybe you even let out a few choice words. Oh, I've been there. I know that feeling all too well. It's like, time slows down, and you're just watching that paint drip in slow motion, wishing you could rewind and prevent the whole thing.
It's a totally natural reaction.
Yeah.
And in those moments of panic, it's so easy to just make a quick decision, something that could make the situation even worse. You might reach for the harshest cleaner you can find, or scrub like crazy, and potentially damage the wood even more.
Okay, so what's the antidote to this DIY panic? How can our listeners stay calm and collected when they're facing a paint mishap?
The key is to remember, knowledge is power. You've learned so much from this deep dive already. You know how to assess the situation, how to choose the right approach for your specific wood type, and how to work through those options step by step.
It's like having this mental toolbox filled with all the right tools and techniques to tackle any paint stain that comes your way.
Exactly. And remember, even if your first try isn't perfect, or if you hit a few bumps in the road, don't beat yourself up about it. Wood floors are surprisingly resilient, and there's usually a solution, even for the most stubborn stains.
It's all about learning from those experiences, right? Embracing the journey. DIY is all about trial and error, experimentation, and the satisfaction of tackling those challenges ourselves.
Absolutely. And sometimes those mistakes, they lead to unexpected discoveries, creative solutions,
Yeah.
and even more beautiful results in the end.
So to our listener out there, if you're feeling overwhelmed by a paint stain on your beautiful wood floor, take a deep breath, channel your inner DIY guru, and remember you've got this. You have the knowledge, the tools, and the resilience to conquer this challenge.
And remember, caring for your wood floors is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about building a relationship with your home, understanding its little quirks and nuances, and appreciating the beauty that comes with age wear, and even the occasional paint stain.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of wood floor care and paint removal, I want to leave you with a sense of empowerment, inspiration, and maybe even a touch of that DIY zen. Embrace the challenges, learn from the mishaps, and most importantly, enjoy the process of creating a home that reflects your unique style and personality.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Your wood floors are more than just a surface to walk on. They're a canvas for your life's stories, a testament to your DIY adventures, and a reminder that even in the face of a paint splat, there's always beauty to be found.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive. We hope you found it insightful, empowering, and maybe even a little bit therapeutic.